When we first opened the Empire, we certainly went head to head. My dad is trained by old school chefs. When he wants something done a way, it's the only way, and that's the way that you have to do it.
And one of the tricks of the trade is to take some of that pasta water and put it into your bowl. And this has such wonderful flavor.
I think that having that ego, if you will, has allowed him to become the great chef that he has.
He was a pretty chubby kid. We used to call him Food King. He would stop at 2 different friends' houses for dinner and then come home. So I would say he always had a love of food.
If you come from a family where you grow up eating good food, you become more interested in how you make good food.
He was on the UCHealth show.
First course to be created for us by Jim Cohen in Denver, Colorado.
That's where he really got noticed on a national level.
One of the rules that I have for him is he has to provide me with recipes that are world-class recipes, but that I can make very easily.
Being committed to the end product is something that he has incorporated into many different aspects of his life. He's willing to take all of the steps that you need to take in order to get there.
It was right before Labor Day weekend of 2015. We have a tradition of going to the Telluride Film Festival. Jim was going to go to Basalt first and spend some time at my brother's house, and then we were all going to meet in Telluride.
911, what is your emergency?
My brother, I think, is having a stroke. His name is James Cohen. Oh, Jesus, he can't talk.
He had slept through morning breakfast, and his brother thought, well, he was just tired. He's been working really hard. Jim had been awake for several hours and was unable to yell out that he needed help.
You know, one of the hardest things for me when I first heard about his stroke was I felt like no one in the world knows me the way that Jim does.
Nothing seems real at that point. You feel like you're in a dream.
It took my breath away, almost like if he can't breathe, I can't breathe.
A stroke of this type is especially deadly. You're wide awake, but you can't breathe, you can't move, you're completely paralyzed. It's called what's being locked in. There was a blood clot that we had to pull out to restore blood flow back to the brainstem.
We're all just kind of sitting and praying in the waiting room and trying to be positive and kind of distract ourselves from the inevitable truth of this, that most likely he was going to die.
It was very, very difficult to witness and to see what had happened to my friend. He could only communicate by blinking his eyes.
1 blink yes, 2 blinks no, but he couldn't say anything and he couldn't ask anything, so he was dependent on us asking the right question.
I had been planning to propose for a while. We had a trip planned to go up to Montana, but then this incident happened and we weren't certain if Jim was going to make it. And so I certainly wanted to ask for his permission to marry his daughter. I walked into Jim's room and sat next to him, and I held his hand, let him know that I'm deeply in love with his daughter and was asking for his blessing. He gave a very...
And of course, I was thrilled, and we needed something uplifting and happy to happen.
Andy came back into the solarium and he got down on a knee and...
Lexi, I love you very much, and I look forward to a great life with you, and I hope other people do too. Would you have my hand in marriage?
We always talk about the polar opposites of life, right? It was a devastating family event, and here was a joyous one.
When you die, you hope your children are all in good places, and I think it was nice for him to know that Lexi was in a good place. I think it's the one and only engagement on the Neuro ICU. The decision was made that Ben Honigman and I would be the people to talk to Jim about what he wanted done medically.
We tried to let him know, we don't know what the chances are for you to recover or to walk or to talk. We used very simple language. And the doctors want to know whether you want them to continue to treat you aggressively. And I remember very clearly that he said he wanted to live.
Frequently in these types of situations, everyone's focusing on all the things that like Jim can't do. And I get to be that person that walks into the room and says, I'm sorry all of this happened, but there's life after this.
He was the one who said if you see a little movement, then, you know, there's hope.
At first it was mostly eye movements or blinking, but that was it. Over probably about a week or so, he gained enough eye movement that we could start to use an eye gaze chart. With the eye gaze chart, he looks at a letter, and then you being the able-bodied person move the chart until your eyes lock. And then they go to the next letter of the word. One of his big goals that he communicated rather early on, he was still in the ICU, I think, was that I'm going to my daughter's wedding. This is not a maybe, this is what's going to happen.
I think that the rehab folks began to feel like there was optimism.
I went to go see him and he was just in tears because I was able to get him to move in a certain way he had never seen before. I told the family, there's a lot of hope here. We're gonna get Craig Hospital out to come and see you guys. They're gonna see all the great things that you're doing. I'm still gonna be seeing you regularly.
When he first got in that walking machine, which I have the video of, when he looks over and smiles, you could just see his eyes light up when he got in that, and he would be in the standing position, and there he was, his big tall self. It's like you're walking on the moon.
As long as you're capitalizing on that signaling pathway that's there, you never stop gaining function.
He kept making progress, which was, again, so motivating for him. But I can't imagine anyone putting more effort. 6.
He was moving his arm somewhat against gravity, and that was just heart-melting for everybody. Because if you can do that, you can feed yourself. You can adjust your glasses. You can scratch that itch on your face. You can take a sip of water. That opens so many possibilities, just being able to bend your arm up.
My goal all along, for the past 8 months, to get to a point where I could walk Leslie down the aisle. When you're a chef, you have to love the joy you bring other people. It teaches you how to be excellent in whatever you're doing. All it takes is time and effort.
These cases are great because there's always that possibility of hitting a home run.
At that point, Lexi had declared that her wedding was going to be in June. So it wasn't even a year. And Ben and I were like...
And I just, at one point, I was like, I just can't imagine him walking.
We just felt like, you know, have realistic goals. You might walk in a couple years, but you're not going to walk Lexi down the aisle. And sure enough.
I've always been a daddy's girl, and to have my dad actually make it and walk down the aisle was just wonderful.
I think there's a deep wisdom there that you have control over your own life. Jim's experience is a constant reminder to never forget that.
You can never give up. All things are possible.
So now Jim's current goal is that he's going to ride his bike to Buffalo, New York.
3-4 months ago, I would have said, no way, ain't gonna happen. But I don't say no anymore.
Praise the world, praise its fullness, and its longing, its beauty, and its grief. Praise stone and fire, lilac and river, and the solitary bird at the window. Praise the moment when the whole bursts through pain. and the moment when the whole bursts forth in joy. Praise the dying beauty with all your breath, and see the beauty of the world is your own. Amen. Okay, that's it. Now everybody eat.